In a quiet village, where the wind always sighed through the crooked trees and the flowers leaned away from the path, there lived a woman who longed for a child. Her years had drifted by like smoke, and though her heart was full of gentleness, her arms remained empty. Once, in her youth, she had wandered too deep into the woods and stumbled upon a circle of mushrooms where no wind stirred and no bird sang. There, she whispered a wish into the silence and left an offering of bread and blood. Years passed. She forgot. But the forest did not. One twilight, a traveler cloaked in briars knocked on her crooked door. The woman bore no name, only a bundle wrapped in velvet moss. "Plant this," she whispered, her voice like crushed leaves. "Wish for her, but wish true." The woman did as she was told, burying the velvet bundle in a pot beneath the window. It bloomed within hours. A strange flower, pale and trembling, its petals cool as moonlight. And at its center lay a girl no larger than a thumb, curled like a seedling just breaking soil. She named her Thumbelina. At first, it was joy. Thumbelina danced on tabletops, sang with the birds, and slept in a walnut shell cradled in silk. But slowly the air around her thickened. The cat refused to enter the house. The ivy on the walls curled inwards, browning at the tips, the milk soured by morning. The birds fell silent, and the woman, once full of laughter, grew pale and tired, her cough dry and persistent. She began to dream of soil swallowing her bed, woke with her feet coated in dirt. The hearth flame refused to catch. The bread she baked turned black before it cooled. Still, she loved Thumbelina too much to question the change. She wove her new daughter gowns from spider silk, never noticing that her own hair began to fall out in strands. One morning, the woman did not wake. Thumbelina sat beside her cold hand for hours, humming softly, unaware that the roots from her flower pot had pierced the floorboards. That night, Thumbelina was taken. A toad, wart-skinned and eager, plucked her from her walnut shell and took her to the riverbank, croaking about marriage and mud and love. Thumbelina wept. The river plants whispered in the current, their stems tangling around the toad's legs, slowing him just enough. Two water insects, silver-backed and wary, helped her float away on a lily pad before she could be wed in a cattail crown. The world beyond the river was no kinder. A beetle found her next, jeweled and vain, carried her high into a tree, only to cast her aside when the other insects sneered. "Too pale," they said, "too quiet. She smells of rot." The beetle left her sobbing on a leaf that curled black beneath her feet. She wandered alone after that, always moving, never welcomed. Trees shed their leaves when she passed. The moon dimmed behind clouds. Even the stars blinked slowly, as if wary of the thing that grew in the shape of a child. Winter drove her underground. A field mouse took her in, warm and bustling, and promised her safety if she agreed to marry a mole. "A steady creature," the mouse said, "with plenty of food and long tunnels. What more could a girl want?" But the mole's tunnels whispered. The roots that lined the walls pulsed faintly, like veins. Thumbelina heard them in her dreams, whispering her name in rustling voices. The mole's home smelled of damp fur and decay. He never blinked. He muttered to shadows when he thought she slept. On the third night, she caught him crouched before a wall of tangled roots, whispering in a tongue that made her teeth ache. "Bride seed," he murmured. "Bloom for him." Thumbelina shrank into herself, thinner now, her eyes too bright. The field mouse spoke of wedding preparations. The tunnels pressed closer. That night, Thumbelina dreamed of a garden. But it wasn't the surface garden she once knew. This was older, hung with black vines and glowing blossoms that hummed with music. At its heart stood a prince with bark-like skin and hair of silver leaves. He held out his hand. "Come home, seedling. We've waited long enough." She fled before dawn, through tunnels, through frost-laced meadows, through crumbling earth and brambles that opened only for her. The sun did not rise. Time folded around her like petals. When she finally stepped into the clearing, the Underflower court bloomed before her. It was a place untouched by human seasons. Flowers taller than towers curved toward a lavender sky. Insects the size of cats played violins with wings of glass. The air shimmered with the scent of honey, and something deeper, something older. The fairies rejoiced. "She's returned," they sang, circling her in flurries of golden dust. "The seedling bride, the Rootborn." Thumbelina was brought to the palace, made of woven thorns and perfumed shadows. The fairy prince awaited her, tall, otherworldly, with petals for lashes and eyes that saw through stone. He smiled. And Thumbelina, though she didn't understand why, felt her heart clench with hunger. Yet something lingered beneath the petals. A tower tucked behind the garden walls, a room sealed in glowing vines. Thumbelina found her there, the true bride, a fey girl with glowing skin and a crown of mothlight, bound by silent sorrow. Her eyes met Thumbelina's, and a soft gasp left her throat, barely audible, like wind through hollow reeds. "You took my place," the girl whispered, voice like dew. Thumbelina recoiled. "No, I was stolen. I was grown." "You were planted," the girl said, "to replace me when I resisted." Thumbelina fled, but the garden shifted to keep her close. Roots curled around her steps. Flowers opened with sharp-toothed smiles, and in the distance, the court prepared for a wedding. On the night of the ceremony, Thumbelina stood at the altar beneath a blossom the size of a cathedral. The prince kissed her forehead, and the sky turned black. Light bled from the palace. The sealed tower burst open like a ripe fruit. The true bride screamed, not aloud, but through every petal, every stem. She was being unmade. Thumbelina's hands glowed. She reached out and touched the girl's fading cheek, and watched as her skin drank in the light, the sorrow, the soul. The court knelt, and Thumbelina, no longer a child, no longer innocent, smiled. They had planted her well. From cursed seed to changeling bride, she had grown exactly as they wished. The old woman had been the first root to feed her. The toad, the beetle, the mole, guardians of the passage. The pain, the sorrow, the loneliness, it had all prepared her soil. Now she ruled. Not the girl who once danced in a walnut shell, but something deeper. Her roots twined beneath the Underflower court. Her voice echoed in the petals. And above, on the surface, seeds whispered in their sleep, waiting to bloom. The prince took her hand. "My queen," he said. And the garden sang. Years later, in another lonely cottage, a woman opened her door to a traveller cloaked in briars. She was offered a bundle wrapped in moss. "Plant this," the traveller said, her eyes like silver leaves. "Wish for her, but wish true." Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.